Jenny Harper was a vibrant, curious 12-year-old girl with a heart full of dreams and a smile that could light up any room. Growing up in a small, picturesque town surrounded by forests, Jenny's life was filled with love, laughter, and the kind of innocence that only a happy childhood could bring. Her parents, Sarah and Michael Harper, doted on her, always encouraging her wild imagination and nurturing her deep connection to nature. Jenny had always been fascinated by animals, particularly birds. She would spend hours in the backyard with her sketchbook, drawing the sparrows and blue jays that visited her mother's feeders. Her father, Michael, noticed her fascination and wanted to give her a gift that would inspire her even more. One sunny spring morning, he brought home a small, fragile creature, a baby raven, barely more than a few weeks old. "Jenny," her father said, his eyes twinkling with excitement, "meet your new friend." Jenny's face lit up with wonder as she gazed at the tiny bird. Its feathers were a patchwork of soft black down, and its sharp little beak opened and closed in tiny squeaky cries. "A raven?" she asked, gently cupping the small bird in her hands. "Yes," Michael replied. "I found him abandoned near the edge of the forest. He's too young to survive on his own, so I thought maybe you could take care of him. But remember, raising him will take patience and responsibility." Jenny nodded solemnly, her excitement tempered by the weight of the task ahead. "I'll do my best, Dad, I promise." From that day on, the raven became a part of the Harper family. Jenny named him Shade, inspired by the glossy black sheen of his feathers. Every day she fed him, cleaned his small cage, and spoke to him as if he were a person. Shade grew quickly under Jenny's care, and before long, he began hopping around the house and flapping his wings. The bond between them deepened with each passing day, and Jenny took immense pride in watching Shade grow strong and healthy. Raising Shade wasn't easy, but Jenny embraced the challenge wholeheartedly. Her parents marveled at how dedicated she was, waking up early to feed him and reading books about ravens to learn how to care for him properly. She even trained him to come when she called his name and to perch on her shoulder. Shade became her constant companion, following her around the house and even accompanying her on walks in the yard. The townsfolk often stopped to watch the curious sight of a young girl walking with a raven perched on her arm, the two of them an inseparable pair. People began calling her the Raven Girl, a nickname Jenny wore with pride. Through Shade, Jenny learned important lessons about responsibility, patience, and the importance of nurturing others. She also discovered the intelligence of ravens. They weren't just birds, but clever, emotional creatures with unique personalities. Shade often surprised her with his antics, like bringing her small trinkets he found in the yard, or mimicking her laughter. "You've got yourself quite the smart bird there," her father would say with a chuckle, watching as Shade hopped around Jenny's desk, pecking at her pencils. But what stood out the most was how Shade seemed to sense Jenny's emotions. If she was sad or upset, he would sit quietly beside her, his beady black eyes watching her intently. If she was happy, he would flap his wings and caw excitedly, sharing in her joy. Jenny often told Shade her secrets and dreams, confiding in him as if he were a trusted friend. She dreamed of becoming a wildlife biologist, studying birds and protecting their habitats. Shade, in turn, seemed to listen, his head tilted as if absorbing every word. Life was perfect for Jenny and her family, until the day tragedy struck. One crisp autumn morning, Jenny woke up feeling unwell. At first, her parents thought it was just a cold, but her symptoms grew worse with alarming speed. She became weak and lethargic, her once bright eyes dull and unfocused. Doctors ran tests, but they couldn't determine what was wrong. Her condition baffled everyone. Within days, Jenny's health deteriorated rapidly. Her parents stayed by her bedside, their hearts breaking as they watched their vibrant daughter slip away. Shade, too, seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. He rarely left Jenny's side, perching on the windowsill of her room and refusing to eat or play. On a gray November morning, Jenny passed away peacefully in her sleep, her small hand clutching Shade's favorite feather. The Harper family was devastated. Their home, once filled with laughter and life, now felt unbearably empty. Shade, who had been so lively and curious, became eerily quiet, his mournful caws echoing through the house. Jenny's funeral was held on a chilly afternoon. The entire town gathered to pay their respects, offering condolences to the grieving family. The small church was filled with flowers and photographs of Jenny, each image capturing her radiant smile and the light she had brought into the world. Shade, much to everyone's surprise, was present at the funeral. The raven had followed the family to the cemetery, perching silently in a tree as the ceremony began. When it was time to lower Jenny's casket into the ground, something extraordinary happened. As the minister finished his final prayer, Shade swooped down from the tree and landed on Jenny's casket. The mourners gasped in surprise, some stepping back in shock. But the Harpers didn't move. They watched in awe as Shade stood there, his wings slightly outstretched, as if shielding Jenny from the cold. For several moments, Shade remained perfectly still, his gaze fixed on the casket. Then he let out a low, haunting caw that sent chills down everyone's spines. It was a sound filled with sorrow and longing, unlike anything the Harpers had ever heard. And then, something incredible happened. As Shade cawed, a faint, shimmering light began to emanate from his body. The light grew brighter, enveloping the raven in a golden glow that illuminated the entire cemetery. The mourners watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The light seemed to ripple and pulse, growing stronger with each passing second. Shade flapped his wings, and the glow spread outward, touching the casket. A soft, warm breeze swept through the cemetery, carrying with it a sense of peace and comfort. And then the impossible happened. The lid of Jenny's casket began to tremble, and a faint knocking sound echoed from within. The mourners gasped, some crying out in shock. Sarah and Michael froze, their hearts pounding as they stared at the casket. The lid slowly creaked open, and a small hand emerged, clutching Shade's feather. Jenny sat up, her eyes wide and filled with light. She looked around, confused but alive. "Mom? Dad?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Sarah and Michael rushed forward, tears streaming down their faces as they embraced their daughter. The crowd erupted in cries of joy and disbelief, many falling to their knees in awe of the miracle they had witnessed. Shade, now back to his normal self, perched on Jenny's shoulder, letting out a soft caw of approval. It was as if he had been sent to protect her, to guide her back from the brink of death. In the days that followed, Jenny's miraculous return became the talk of the town. Doctors were baffled, unable to explain how a girl who had been declared dead could suddenly come back to life. The Harpers, however, didn't need an explanation. They believed that Shade had been more than just a pet. He had been a guardian, a gift from a higher power sent to watch over Jenny. Jenny, too, felt a renewed sense of purpose. She saw her second chance at life as an opportunity to make a difference. She began volunteering at wildlife rehabilitation centers, helping injured birds and educating others about the importance of protecting nature. Shade remained her constant companion, more loyal and attentive than ever. Their bond, forged through love and loss, had become unbreakable. Jenny often wondered if Shade had been sent to her for a reason, a thought that filled her heart with gratitude. Years later, Jenny grew up to become a renowned wildlife biologist, dedicating her life to studying and protecting ravens and other birds. She often shared the story of Shade and the miracle that had changed her life, inspiring countless others with her tale of love, loss, and hope. Shade lived a long and happy life, remaining by Jenny's side until the end. When he passed away, Jenny buried him in the backyard under the oak tree where they had spent so many afternoons together. She placed a small plaque at the base of the tree that read, "In memory of Shade, the raven who brought light to the darkest of days." Jenny's story became a cherished part of the town's history, a reminder of the power of love and the miracles that can happen when we least expect them. And every year, on the anniversary of Shade's passing, a flock of ravens would gather around the oak tree, their caws echoing through the air as if paying tribute to their fallen friend. Jenny would sit beneath the tree, watching the birds with a smile, her heart full of gratitude. She knew that Shade's spirit would always be with her, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always light to be found. The story of Jenny and Shade is a testament to the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, and the miracles that love can inspire. Through Shade, Jenny learned the true meaning of compassion, responsibility, and resilience, and her life became a beacon of hope for all who heard her tale.